ABC, it's Dave here. Thought I'd come on here and do a quick video, uh, which is a thread response to Edward, who is another Texas uh, vinyl, uh, shows vinyl on the VC here. Like I said, he's from Texas, down in Austin. And I used to live in Austin way back in the mid 70s. Real nice town. Although back then it was a lot smaller than it is now and not quite as congested and whatever, but it's still a really neat city. It's just grown a lot since then. But anyway, Edward started a thread and it's real simple. He just wanted you to show some albums with people on the cover. So, yeah, I thought I could do that pretty easy. This is the Mothers of Invention. We're only in it for the money, which is their spoof of the Sgt. Pepper's album. And there's the insert. And it was kind of done inside out of what the Sgt. Pepper's album is. And yeah, I really love this album, and it's still one of my favorite Mothers of Invention albums. Particularly way back when, either you loved Frank Zappa or hated Frank Zappa, and he really appealed to me as a teenager. And this album was filled with all sorts of, interesting songs, from electronic collage to parody songs, and just all sorts of things that were a lot of fun. So yeah, like I said, and even probably today, I'm sure there are people that would either love this or hate it, but yeah, Frank Zappa was a real original, so I always found him interesting. This is a Van Morrison's Tupelo Honey. I think this is the first album I bought by Van Morrison. And I walked in the record shop and heard the proprietor playing this, and immediately, liked it. And there's Van Morrison right there. And I'm not too sure who his lady friend is right there. Maybe might be one of his wives, but here they are on the back as well. But yeah, Tupelo Honey is one of his more folky albums, which may have been why it appealed to me so much. But here they are again. This is gatefold. But anyway, here lately I ran into excuse me, I've had allergy problems lately, but I ran into a video called Amplified on YouTube, and I'll leave a link below, and they did a really nice overview of Van Morrison's albums, talking about all of them, and showed clips of him singing live and whatnot. And I've watched it twice already and could probably watch it again, but if you're into Van Morrison, you ought to check out that video, because I thought it was really good. This is Steve Miller Band. This is their second album called Sailor. And this is when they still had Boz Scaggs in the band, which is right here. Of course, Steve Miller is right there, I believe. No, here he is. Anyway, it's called Sailor, and it's when Steve Miller Band still was a little bit in their psychedelic phase. So, the first album and the second album are the two that really appealed to me. But, I collected him for several years after those first two as well. But interesting rock and roll at the time. Kind of blues oriented, a little bit psych. So, yeah. Plus, I always like this cover. This is the Essential Organ. They are a jazz band with world roots in their music. Ralph Towner, Ralph Towner here, Colin Wolcott. Let's see here. I'm not too sure who the other members are right there, but really interesting jazz band. One of my favorite ones that I can listen to just about any time. This is on the Vanguard label, 2-record set. And found this at a record show really cheap and was really, happy to find it. I've got some of their other albums, but this is a really interesting album just to hear, an overview of their stuff. This is Pearls Before Swine. I've always liked this album cover here that I think is Bruegel, European artist. And it kind of looks like it's either from war or maybe depicting hell or something like that. But the name of the album is called Balaclava. And from the looks of it, you'd think maybe it's heavy metal or, something really weird. But actually, and I bought this blind a long time ago, it's actually a folk album, and really interesting folk album. So, yeah, Pearls Before Swine. Tom Rapp was their, I guess, figurehead, what you might say, the head of the group, more or less. He did most of the singing, I think, but yeah, really interesting folk album. Pearls Before Swine. Balaclava. This is on the, what label is this on? ESP disc. Real interesting album if you're into folk. Proghat didn't say anything that they had to be photographs. So here are two people on the cover of Steve Hackett's album. This is Please Don't Touch, which I believe is his second album. And if you're into Genesis and progressive music, it's a really neat album. Various styles, and still has a little bit of that fantasy progressive Genesis touch to it. I really like the album cover where it looks like a older couple are being attacked by maybe the puppets that the older man has made. But yeah, the whole album is really good. It kind of flows together well. I don't know that there's anything on here that stands out to me. I think Please Don't Touch may have been some sort of a hit for him at the time. I don't know, but the first song is Narnia, which is based upon the children's book by the British author C.S. Lewis, coming from the land of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah, real interesting album by Steve Hackett. I'd say his first two are at least the ones to pick up, and then later on he had several other good albums later on in his career. This is the Small Faces album. This is when Rod Stewart joined the band. I think previous to this, Rod Stewart was playing with Jeff Beck on some of his albums, but this is after Steve Marriott had left, and they got Rod Stewart here to do the singing. You got Ronnie Wood in the band, and some other people. Kenny Jones is on the drums. Ron Wood plays guitar and harp. Ronnie Lane, that was the other guy I was trying to think of, which is right here. that plays guitar. So, yeah, not quite as good as the Steve Marriott version of the Small Faces, but you can find the album, fairly inexpensive. It's worthwhile. And then this last one I got here is a Peter, Paul, and Mary album. This is their best of. There they are right there on the photograph on the cover. And I really liked Peter, Paul, and Mary at the time when they were singing Puff the Magic Dragon and all that. I remember the songs Puff the Magic Dragon in junior high, being on the radio. And, I didn't think anything about it being about smoking cannabis or whatever, but I just thought it was a nice fantasy song actually made for children. And I kind of still think that way, actually. Pretty back cover with the flowers motifs. Same for the inside, as you can see. But like I said, it's 10 years together, kind of a greatest hits. And it's got, Puff the Magic Dragon is on here. You've got Lemon Tree, If I Had a Hammer, I Dig Rock and Roll Music, Blowing in the Wind, Leave It on a Jet Plane. So, yeah, I still play this album from time to time when I, want to, remember some of my youth. So, yeah, Peter, Paul, and Mary. So anyway, that's a few albums I picked out with people on the cover. And like I said, I'll leave a link below for the Van Morrison video. And yeah, enjoying my Sunday here, and hope you are too. So we'll talk to you later.